Welcome back to the Spiritually Wired podcast. My guest today is my very dear friend, Brenda Jasmin. Brenda is a positive psychology practitioner. She is a speaker and the host of the She Flourishes podcast. And this conversation today is all about purpose and what it means to be meant for more. We go deep into it. We have some laughs, as we always do. And it is one of those conversations that just leaves you feeling light and also inspired to live a life that is full of meaning. Because if not now, when? I hope you enjoy this conversation. Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome to the podcast, Brenda. I'm so looking forward to spending this time together. I know it's not your first time on the podcast. You are officially a returning guest.
Yes.
And we play a big part in each other's lives as friends, also as colleagues. Mm-hmm. People may not know, but we also offer some corporate sessions that we do together, which is it's been such a fun part of our business. I mean, I love working with you. And I get to also witness what you are putting out in the world and the work that you are doing and the way in which you are helping so many women connect with their purpose. So I'd love for us to start with, you have this program that you run called Meant for More. Mm-hmm. It's something that I know has been on your heart for a long time. I'd love to start with why you think that everyone is meant for more. What does that come from? What is the foundation of it?
Thanks, Renée. It's so good to be here back on your show and in your podcast studio. I'm loving this. So Meant for More to me is about women coming back to who they truly are and living their lives in alignment and with intention and living their lives in such a way that they feel fulfilled. So like Meant for More means, you're not just going through the motions, but you're really connecting with your gifts and what you love and how you want to help the world and what you want to do in the world. And I know that can sound really grandiose, but that could mean you're doing something on a bigger scale, but it could also mean, impacting your own family and your own community or, even something like a garden. Like it doesn't have to be this big life-changing thing. But it's about stepping into the more that you're meant for, meaning that you're not accepting just like, I guess this is how it is. And a lot of us bury our dreams under everything that happens when we, are living our lives, whether it's career, family, aging parents, being a mom, all the things, right, that come along with being a woman and especially a midlife woman. That's who I've mainly been talking to these days.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I think sometimes we think of it has to be the big things and the big dreams and the more and more from a external place, maybe. And the way that you define it is very much more in the way of how you live, like more purpose, more connection, even. Yeah. That's like an important distinction.
Yes, absolutely. It really is. And you'd asked me like where it came from. when I was 24, my dad died very suddenly of a heart attack, and he was 65. And at his funeral, people kept saying like, "Oh, just when he was about to retire." And I was in my 24-year-old brain, I couldn't quite figure out like why were so many people saying when he was about to retire, when he was about to retire. And I realized that there was this underlying thing, this unspoken sentence, which was, oh, like most people wait their whole life to really live. They wait till they retire to really live. And I was correcting people, sort of saying, wait a second, no, like my dad lived this beautiful life and he lived in 3 different countries and did all the things he wanted to do. But it made me realize how many people live their life until they retire. And then I think what a tragedy it would have been if my dad had done that, because he did die at 65. So for me, a lot of what I do in the world stems from wanting to make sure that people don't, and this is not my words, Oliver Wendell Holmes said, most people go to their graves with their music still in them, or with their song unsung. And to me, that's such a tragedy. And so I think this mission, this purpose that I have comes from that experience of being 24 and seeing that happen with my dad, and wanting to make sure that people do live the more they're meant for, that they share their gifts, that they do what they really want to do in the world and don't just give up. And I think for midlife women, or not even midlife women, like you and I have been doing this work for a long time, even when we were younger, right? Women can put their own dreams by the wayside and focus on everyone else and not what they really want to be doing. And then you start to get to like a little bit older and you start to think, oh, maybe I've run out of time. Maybe it's too late.
Okay, thank you for sharing the context of it, because I think I feel that in you, that it's not the catchy phrase. It is really meaningful to you.
It is.
There's such an important intention behind it that I know you, I love you, and I feel that in you, that it's bigger than a sentence or even a coaching style or a practice or anything. It's bigger than that.
It really is.
And how true it is that it is so easy. And I think for everyone, but for sure, as women, as mothers, how easily we put other people, and it's part of our DNA. I mean, we're nurturers. It's easy to put other people ahead. And then we can also get stuck in that story, waiting for the perfect time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what would you say to someone who maybe is listening? They've got like this dream, but it feels maybe just impossible, or they don't know where to start, or there's a certain stuckness in that, oh, I've said that I was going to do this before and I've not. And so how would you help someone who's maybe in that spot right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because, and that is so bang on. That's where so many women are. I find they're in either one of 2 camps. They're either, they know what they want to do, but they're afraid to go after it, and they maybe feel like it's, as you said, an impossible dream. Or they're in this place where they're like, I don't even know what my dreams are. I've been so focused on everyone else. Like, I don't even know what that is. And so they tend to kind of fall into those 2 areas. And so what I would say is that, start small and look for the clues of things that light you up, things that bring you joy. Even look back to what you enjoyed doing as a kid, because there are clues there. When you look back to like, what games did you like to play as a kid? What toys did you play with? Maybe it was make believe. I know for me, like I loved playing school and being like the teacher, and I loved telling stories. And when I was 9, when we did public speaking, the very first speech I ever gave, I won, and I was winning all these speech competitions. And it's like, I loved public speaking and I loved teaching. And so maybe for you, if you're listening, think back to what what brought you joy, and just look for the little clues, look for the crumbs, because I do believe, and this is maybe where the spiritual stuff comes in too, like I do think we have natural inclinations and things that we're drawn to, and I think they're there for a reason. And if we pay attention to those times in our life when we really loved what we were doing, or when we lost track of time because we were in flow, those are the clues to look for. And then it doesn't mean you're going to maybe come up with this, as we said, this grandiose idea or change your life completely, but start following the joy, start following those sparks and those things that light you up. And so maybe it's that you really loved baking. And so maybe you're going to take a class in baking, or maybe you're going to take a dance class, or just dip your toe in the water and start to bring that back into your life again. Or if you're someone who knows what you've always wanted to do, just know that the fear that comes along with like, can I do this? Or it feels impossible, that's normal, that we all feel that way, that as we start to approach those things that are really meaningful to us because they mean so much, it can almost feel even scarier.
Mm-hmm. That's such a tangible, I think, very practical way to begin. So I love that you're sharing that. And I think it's so important. And it just makes me think too, I think sometimes like what gets in our way is that we try to figure it all out, and we think that it is about a thing. It has to be a purpose where there's work involved, like where there's an exchange of payment. And don't you think like sometimes we just get stuck with that?
Yes.
Of like, well, I love baking, but what's the point? Because it's not like, does it mean that I'm meant to open a pastry shop, or that I meant to go to Paris to study? Like maybe. And it doesn't have to be that. It gets to be, how can you bring it into your life now in small ways? And it's also making me think of, when you think of from a spiritual perspective, like creative energy is spiritual energy.
Yes.
And that's a way too to just infuse that life into your life.
Yes, absolutely. It really is. And actually, you and I, we gave a workshop years ago through when you were running Mothers on Fire. And there's a woman that came to one of our workshops, and we were talking about this, who, speaking of baking, she started a cookie company. After one of the workshops. So, I mean, it could be that, but it could be something completely different. I have some corporate clients that they're not leaving their career, but they're doing something on the side that's fulfilling to them outside of their job. So like one woman in one of my coaching groups, she started like these coaching or these women's circles that she wanted to do, that she's now doing on the weekends. Someone else, like, she works in corporate. She has a big job, but she's written her first draft of a children's book. So there's really cool things that, that people do. And it could just be that, I'm going to say it, Renee, you and I went to a pickleball lesson on the weekend. And that, like, just being physically active, and like that was just something that just brought joy, right? And it's sort of tapping into that sense of play again. And that's, like you said, that's where the creativity can start to show up too.
I know. And we were both saying how independently we both wanted to cancel because there were so many other things to do. And that's the other thing too, is life is busy, can easily suck away at your time, and then you feel depleted not doing things. So we were both tired. You were hosting something, and yet we went, and I had so much more energy after. I was so happy that we did that. I mean, not that I've realized there's work to be done if I want to play pickleball, but we had fun. And it really was a way to fuel, plus the connection. And I agree. We overcomplicate it, don't we?
We do. And I think a big thing to do when you're, if you're designing your next chapter, that thing you want to do, I always say, dip your toe in the water. Like, don't start something really huge, because maybe you won't even like it, right? Like maybe you did like it when you were 10 years old, but you don't love it now. And so if there is something you want to do, just take those baby steps. And then the other thing that does, like, one, it gives you a chance to try it. And two, then the resistance doesn't come up so much. Like, the fear isn't paralyzing because it's like, oh, I'm just doing this little thing. I'm just going to try this thing out, or I'm just going to go, to that little community theater, or I'm just going to research taking this course if maybe you want to go back to school.
Yeah. What's showing up for me, and it's interesting because when you're talking about just dipping your toes and following the breadcrumbs, what sparks joy, I love the cue of also looking back and seeing, like, what did you love? So when you were talking, what was coming up for me was I always loved to dance as a kid. I did it in terms of, competitions and gymnastics and stuff. But even when I was like smaller, my parents, I would do little mini concerts and dance shows for them.
Yeah.
Loved it. And then I disconnected from it in university throughout, for I don't know how long, but just busy being a mom. And there weren't really, like, other than a wedding, you weren't really out there dancing.
No.
I wasn't going out to bars. And then I remember, like, through COVID, reconnecting with really dancing and just feeling the joy that it brought into my life and into my body, just at home, realizing I don't need to have a dance, a place. I can just create it at home. And what it's done, infusing it. And now I'm finding myself infusing it in more of the work that I do, like letting myself, but it all kind of started with just in the small ways and just letting it breathe and letting it be a part of your life again.
Yes. I love that. That's so good. And I've noticed you doing that. And it makes, do you think it makes you more you?
I do. But I think before I would have thought, well, that part of my life is over. Like, I used to be a dancer. That part of my life is over. There's no version that I could ever imagine where any element of dance would fit in. Because, how could it?
Right. Yeah.
I'm passionate about what I do. It doesn't involve that. But in the letting go, and I'm a big fan of the surrendering piece, you just don't know how it shows up when you're not so, stuck on it looking a certain way.
Exactly. And I think, like, witnessing you bringing that back into your life, I think that's, we all have our unique contribution. We all have our unique gifts. And I think that's you bringing your personality and your uniqueness and your gifts into the world, and you're blending them all together, but you're not hiding a part of you. And I think I met someone the other day, and he was saying that, he sort of felt like he had to fit into this certain role in his career. But he was actually a massage therapist, but there were all these other modalities that he knew how to do. And he said, I'm tired of hiding all these other things that I can do to help people. And he said, that's it. Like, I'm rebranding myself. I'm bringing all of this forward. And I was like, yes, that's what we're talking about, is let's bring, to use your words, Renée, the fullest expression of ourselves forward. And I think there's a reason why we have these inclinations. There's a reason why you want to dance. There's a reason why I want to speak and coach and talk about these things. I do think that I guess there's a spiritual side that we're uncovering things that the world needs, that we're not here, as my mentor, Barbara Sher, said, we're not just here to breathe air and take up room. Like, we actually are here to do things in the world. So that person, that massage therapist who now is bringing all those gifts forward, think of all the people now he's going to help. Think of the joy you're bringing people by adding dance into what you're doing. Like, I just think it's a really beautiful thing to not hide this part of ourselves. And I think this is why it's so important to know what those things are and spend some time, like, thinking about it or journaling or really exploring, so that those things that are dormant, you do start to breathe some life into them again. And I do think the world needs us to do it. And I think we feel so much more fulfilled when we're sharing those gifts and unique contributions.
Yeah, and it really is a ripple effect of one person tuning in, allowing themselves to be in the more.
Yes.
So when you say the more, are you speaking of purpose?
I'm speaking of, see, purpose is always a tough word, right? And there's actually a thing, if you're hearing the word right now, purpose, and it's making you kind of go, there actually is something called purpose anxiety. So I don't always like to say it's your purpose, but it could be like what gives your life meaning. And that is connected to purpose. And you and I have talked about this, I feel like, on other shows too, where we, your purpose in life evolves. So what your purpose is when your kids are little versus what they are. I know we both have adult children now. What your purpose might become if you have aging parents, what your purpose is in your career. It changes and evolves with us over time. And so it may not just be one thing. So I'm always a little careful using that word. But I would say the more is about the things that give you that spark, that make you come alive, that you might lose track of time. There's that whole idea of being in a flow state. There's the book Flow by Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. His name's always hard to say. But the things that, like, often if people that play musical instruments or playing a sport, or like I know for me when I'm teaching or facilitating a workshop, I really do, or on a podcast, I lose track of time. And so you get in that flow state. So looking for those things. So the more is giving yourself an opportunity to connect with those things that light you up and that you're curious about. Like even the word passion is kind of a tricky word too, because people are like, what's my passion? What's my purpose? And I think we can get into trouble with those words. We're probably better to think about things like, what am I curious about? What brings me joy? What lights that spark? What puts me in the flow state? Those are the types of things that, the things that light you up. Those are the clues. And then when you go out and do them in the world, you feel that sense of meaning and that sense of connection. And you feel like, oh, like this is where I'm meant to be. Like this really feels aligned.
That is a beautiful way to share it. And it's so true. I think there is such a thing as purpose anxiety when we make it, or we think it's the one thing.
Yeah.
And that's where we get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so the more it's like, no, you're turning up that dial, that volume on all the things that light you up. And it's not one thing.
Yes.
It can be so many things. And it's more about the quality of the frequency is what I would say, right?
Yes,
The frequency of what it brings.
Yes, it energizes you too, right? Like if you're thinking of frequency and energy, is that what you're talking about?
And it spills into so many other areas too.
Yes.
Okay, I'm remembering that we were at a workshop, and I'm hoping that you can remind me, with Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm going there.
Yes, I've been dying to talk to you about this for years.
Can we have a conversation about that? Can you first remind me, because I'm like, what was it again that we both?
Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yes, I think we're allowed. We just have to have an explicit, and I love when we get an explicit rating.
Okay,
well, I feel very cool.
Yeah. Okay, this was meant to be, because I thought I would really love, we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I was thinking, I have been wanting to have this conversation with you on a podcast or something for years, because it was a few years ago we went to this Elizabeth Gilbert
at least
event.
3 years ago, I'd say.
And she actually said, fuck purpose.
That's it. I was like, I remember it was Elizabeth Gilbert. It had something to do with purpose.
Yeah.
And you and I were like, say what?
Yeah.
Did you just say that?
Yes. Fuck, like finding your purpose. And and we had this like visceral reaction to, did she just say, like, it's kind of hard for me to say that word over. Like, screw your purpose.
You're doing a great job, Brenda. I feel like you're really embodying it.
Am I?
You are.
But yeah, because it's like, wait a minute, like this is my life's work, is helping people with this. And she's telling us. And I felt like I had that reaction I know what she was she was part of it. She was trying to get a reaction, I think. And I think she was speaking to this, if it's not serving people. If we all have purpose anxiety, then we're not actually doing the thing, and we're running around what's my purpose, what's my purpose, instead of, so she's like, screw that, and instead be curious, follow your, what your interests are, and don't waste your time. I think that's what she was saying, but I felt like it was a little too far the other way.
Yeah, and I remember hearing her on a podcast before where she talked about her hummingbird and woodpecker philosophy, where she was saying how she would talk about purpose. So this is why I know she came to this from her perspective of, she was the one also talking about purpose before. And her purpose being a writer, and how she was always so connected to this desire to write. And that was her thing, her purpose. And she would talk to people about doing that, right? And getting into the flow state and all of that. And then one day she read this message from someone who said she had heard her speak about that, and she felt worse about herself after, because she said, I don't really have anything in my life that is like that. I don't connect with this one thing. I'm not a painter or a writer or a speaker or that one thing, which is, when you think of in this world, oftentimes those are the people that are on stages speaking. And so she said, it makes me feel less than, that I've just not found my thing, and there's something wrong with me. And so then she realized, oh yes, that some people do have that one thing, and it is clear to them, and that is their life's purpose, is that one thing. They're the woodpeckers. They're the ones that are like, they just are chipping at it every day. They wake up to it. That's what they do. They're not seeking anything outside of it, because they've defined that for themselves, and that feels good. Right. While as the hummingbirds are always like, just spreading the seeds everywhere. And they are designed differently. They are people who, they don't necessarily have that one thing. They may have different things, and they're meant to explore different things. Yes. And I remember hearing that and feeling I completely understood to that. And then later I've gotten into human design. I'm a manifesting generator. So now I've understood that also part of my DNA, or the way I'm designed, is to do different things. Like the one thing feels heavier and suffocating, that it's important to do different things. Yes. So that's, after the fact, I was able to come to like, okay, maybe that's what she means by fuck purpose. Yes. And how we can get lost in the search of it, the seeking of it, and then we miss out on life.
And we waste time. Like, and we get ourselves all feeling anxious and nervous and, looking instead of just living life, and then coming across the things that make us feel alive. And the hummingbird, like if I were to think about Barbara Sher, she talks about, she's not with us anymore, but she would talk about people that are scanners. And so that would be similar to the hummingbird, where so a scanner is someone, it's kind of like you're scanning the horizon for different things, but these are people who sometimes they take a deep dive into different things. So like these 5 years of my life, I'm taking a deep dive into one subject or one type of career. And then they kind of finish with that. And then they move to the next thing and they take a deep dive. And so there's like serial kind of, deep divers or whatever you want to call them. And then there's the scanners that they're multi-passionate, and they're doing a few different things at once. So they might be writing a book. They might be running a business. They might be, oftentimes they're maybe even doing a couple businesses, but they have like lots of different hobbies, and they have a lot of different projects on the go. And so they may even in one day work on different projects, or they say, this week I'm working on this project. Next week I'm working on my other project. And it fits really well with the economy right now. Like if you're thinking of the gig economy, or it's actually good for us to have different things that we're good at and different things that we do. So I would say that's probably, if you're like a hummingbird type person, that is a personality. And some of the most, like I think Leonardo da Vinci was like that. Like I think when you look at his old journals, he had all sorts of projects on the go at any given time. So it's different types of personalities would fit into that. And then yes, there's the woodpecker type personality where they know the thing, and they would probably say, oh, I'm passionate about this and this is my purpose, or they're all in on that one thing. And that brings them joy and fulfillment. So I think this is great that we're talking about this, because I think it really is that there's different types of people, and not to judge yourself, like to have acceptance and self-compassion and know that you might be one of those multi-passionate scanner hummingbird people, or maybe you are more of that woodpecker type that is, you really know what you want and you're going after it.
Yeah, I found it to be freeing to understand that about myself, instead of judging myself for not thinking that the gold standard is to be the person who does the one thing. So I would see it as I would fault myself for wanting to do different things. So it helps sometimes to give you a lens of, that you're not doing anything wrong. You're actually following what is in your nature. But the thing is, we can say that, and this is why the programs like you offer are so important, is we can say it, but and we know what we have to do, yet life. And we get busy, and we're busy giving, and we're doing all the things, and we keep putting off what we know is in our heart. And so this is, to me, like such the power and the benefit and the value of what you do is giving people the space to, you don't have to figure it out all out, but together we'll figure it out. And this is the space where you're held accountable, not from like a fear place, but from you are meant for more.
Yeah. And it's really hard to go after it alone. It's because then the self-doubt creeps in, and it's really tough to do it by yourself. And I know we live in a society that really praises that, or we think people are doing it on their own. But if you talk to anyone who is successful, who has, started living their more or feeling fulfilled, they will often say they did not do it alone. And so, like the group coaching programs, like it's so great because people can say, oh, I ran into this roadblock, or, this thing happened. And then there's other people there supporting them. Or when they have a win, there's other people along the way. But it's really easy to just, I do it if I'm alone in my house and I have these big dreams, and then I'm like, oh, who am I to think that I'm going to do that big thing? Like, what am I doing? Right. Whereas when I have other people in my life, a coach or a group, or, people like friends like you, where, we cheer each other on, and we lift each other up, and we believe in each other. I also want to talk about what you said, though, about being women and how like life gets in the way. And I think this is something I'm really realizing, with the women in my groups. Like some weeks it's like, oh, I did this and I did that, and we're all celebrating. And then some weeks it's like, oh my goodness, I had all these goals and these things I wanted to do to move the needle forward on this thing that I've said I want to do in the world, this thing that I love. But, a parent went into the hospital. Somebody passed away. A health crisis came up. The dog needed to go to the vet, or I know right now a lot of people's kids are moving home, right, from university, for the summer. So it's not linear, it's messy. And the big thing I want to say to people is that when things like that show up, it doesn't mean, oh, I guess I'm not meant to do this. Like, I guess I better give up. There's just too much going on. Too many people need me. Instead, to have self-compassion and be able to say, okay, it's okay. This week, all this the shit hit the fan, all this stuff happened, and it's okay. Next week, I'll do this. Or some of the women would say like, you know what? Yeah, all this stuff happened, but I did move the needle a little bit. Like I wrote a little bit, or I did that bit of research. And then we celebrate that. And then it's like, wow, you had all that going on and you still took that little baby step forward this week, and celebrate that. Because this is what I'm realizing is that a lot of these books and things out there, I think they are designed for men, and they're not designed for people that have all the things going on that a lot of the women that you and I talk to have going on.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And why it's so important to be in community and to be in spaces, because life will happen and then it's remembering and coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. And it's the way I teach meditation. Thoughts will come. And then the practice is to keep coming back. Mm-hmm. But it's the same thing with this work. When you think about it, I haven't thought about it from a purpose perspective, but so much of the work is, yes, life will maybe veer in a certain way. And we now understand how much we cannot control any of it. And how can we find our way back? Yeah. Find our way back to the meaning. And I think the word meaning that you said is really bang on. I found as the years go by, there's a resonance to that word that I'm not sure existed for or was present in the same way when I was in my 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's part of our evolution too. As we get older, our legacy becomes more important to us, and we actually are more likely to want more meaning in our lives. And the good news is that meaning is one of those things that we know makes us feel more fulfilled. Yeah. And that's another place where, the science of positive psychology connects with spirituality, because we know that we have greater well-being when we have meaning in our lives. And that meaning can be feeling connected to something greater than yourself. That is where spirituality can come in, or transcendence, or awe, or feeling connected to here's something I'm doing in the world that's really important to me. It could be being connected to, a charity that there's a mission there that you're helping with. So it really, it's one of those things that actually helps us to have greater fulfillment and life satisfaction. So it's worth looking for those things that bring us meaning.
You and I were facilitating a corporate workshop recently, and we were speaking about capacity and energy and what fills our capacity, what fuels it, and then what depletes it. But as you were talking about that, I'm like, it kind of is similar, right? It's like that capacity, like that fulfillment basket, that meaning basket, that
the spiritual
that space,
energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That we always try to dissect and to know exactly, to intellectualize is the word that I use. You can't quite, but then it's trusting that when you're showing up for things that do matter to you, that have meaning, that it increases that energy in a way that impacts every other thing. I mean, I know that I'm going to show up for my movement, my body, in terms of what I'm feeding it through nutrition, in a different way when I'm connected or I'm living from a place of meaning.
Yes.
Would you say? Like
it's absolutely, because a perfect example is if it's meaningful to you to be able to run after your children or grandchildren, then you're in a place where you're like, I'm going to go to the gym because like I now have these little a grand niece and two grand nephews and a grand nephew on the way. And I'm like, I want to be able to get down on the floor and play with them. I want to be able to lift them up. And so movement becomes about the meaning of being connected to family and to this younger generation. Like that gives it more purpose and it becomes more soulful and more meaningful when I connect it to the deeper why.
I love it. I love the whole meant for more. And I really feel like you are just that person, right? Just so connected to that purpose behind it. I'd love if we can pivot a little bit the conversation, if you're okay with that, in that another topic that you really teach, and you teach in companies and you teach people as well, I believe, but it's the topic of psychological safety. And I think that it's a word that I'm even hearing more and more and more. There's so importance. What can we go into, like, what does it mean to feel psychologically safe and why it's important? Because I feel like there's a tie-in too with the feeling safe. To me is required in order for me to even feel like I can be creative and search for meaning. And it feels so foundational to it. And yet people are living in a way where maybe they're going to work and not feeling safe. And so how does that psychological safety actually impact our ability to search for purpose, for meaning, for joy, for like the creative piece too?
I love this question, and I love that you get me to think about psychological safety in a different way when you ask the question like that. So thank you for that. There's a few things that happen. Like, one, it makes me even think about like a lot of women will say, like, for instance, my daughter went to art school. And there were some women that actually, when I told them my daughter was going to art school, they got teary because they were artists. And they were told when they were young, don't go to art school, like, go do this other career, pursue a profession, because you'll never make any money being an artist. And so it wasn't safe for them to say, I want to do this thing in the world. I want to be an artist, or I want to be a movie star. I want to be an actor. It's like, no. So it's not. So even in our family of origin, and these are people that love us, that we're trying to protect us. It's like, well, don't go do that thing you love, because, you're probably not, the thinking was you're not going to make money at it. Right. Yeah. So for some people, it goes back as deep as that. Like, it's not safe for me to pursue my dream because it's too scary. And my parents who loved me told me not even to do that in the first place. So one, it may not even, it might not even be safe. So these women who are stuck, so this is where we go a little deeper. And if I'm coaching someone who says, I'm really stuck and I have no idea what I want to do, oftentimes they do. It's just that we need to uncover some stuff that maybe was said to them when they were younger, a teacher, a parent, a coach, someone older who they respected, made it feel not safe to do that thing that they really wanted to do. So there's that. And then in a company, psychological safety, a big part of it is, and if we're talking about creativity, is that, like, you and I work together. So if, let's say you and I are designing a corporate workshop together and I come up with an idea, or let's say you come up with an idea and I roll my eyes and be like, oh, Renee, that idea will never fly. I've now made this unsafe for you to want to be creative. It's like, well, I'm not going to share any more ideas with Brenda because she's shutting me down. Or if we're working together and I've made a mistake and I come to you and I say, Renee, I really messed up. And then you, like, which I'm laughing because these things don't ever happen with us, which is why we love working together. But if you ripped a strip off me and said, I can't believe you dropped the ball, Brenda, I can't believe, well, I'm not going to want to come to you and fess up. And so we're going to lose some trust. We're going to lose some communication. We're not going to be able to be safe with one another and really fulfill our goals that we're trying to achieve with the things we're doing together with the corporate training we do, right? Yeah. So that's an example where if you're at work and you're, and I want to say too, if you're at work and you're thinking, oh, it's all well and good for Renee and Brenda to talk about this, they're entrepreneurs. But there are people who in the workplace, there's something called job crafting, where you can try and put more of what you love to do into your job. But it needs to be safe to do that, right? Like, you need to be able to talk to a manager and say, here's one of my gifts, and I'd really like to bring this forward or use this in the team. And if the team celebrates it and the manager celebrates it, then that's creating safety for that person to be their best and bring their gifts forward and to really shine. So actually, and the research shows that companies that have that, the best teams, the most high performing teams, that's what they do. They make it safe for people to mess up. They make it and make mistakes. They make it safe for people to come up with new ideas and to be creative. They make it safe for you to be you. So if you start dancing or doing like being your true self, I mean, at work, there's a professionalism. We need to be professional at work, but the more we can bring ourselves to work and it's safe to do that, I think it allows people to tap into this like fullest expression of themselves, and people benefit and the companies benefit too. So it can be really great. But unfortunately, there's a lot of workplaces that still have a long way to go. And sometimes it's not even the fault of like, if the leader doesn't feel safe, then it's hard for them to even, sometimes we see leaders that they don't feel safe with their leaders. They're trying to create a safe space in their team, but it can be hard if the corporate culture doesn't feel safe.
I love that we're hearing more about it because I think it's so underrated, the importance of it, of feeling. And I mean, there's more work now on recognizing the importance of nervous system safety.
Yes.
So we need to feel safe in our body
100%.
in order to be able to do all the things that we want to do. But you can imagine how if the environment doesn't feel safe, then it's very difficult to for the body to feel safe as well if it doesn't feel there. And the other piece that was like showing up from the Meant for More perspective is also feeling safe to fail when you do these things. Like even when we went to pickleball, right?
Yeah.
Like it's such a simple example, but I felt it was, I was a bit nervous when we had to go one at a time and hit the ball.
With everybody watching.
Everyone's watching. And you've never, like I had never actually held a pickleball in my hands. So I had no idea. And I remember looking at you, I'm like, I wish I could like just hit it a few times before I stepped up and tried it in front of other people. Now it was an environment. We had an incredible group. Everyone was so nice and we were, it was light and fun and we could do it, but it goes to show, I think, in so many environments, and it can be, as you said, even in your own family, where it doesn't feel safe to try things because you can't be curious and seeking and wanting more without being willing to fall flat on your face, to try things you're not going to be good at. If you want to write a book, you've got to be willing to like write the messy and have someone read it knowing that it's maybe not going to be great. Speaking, right?
So many things.
So you have to be willing to do it.
You do.
It's not easy.
No, it's not. And I think the pickleball is a good example because I think I'm starting to realize that as I get older, I'm almost harder on myself to like do things right the first time. Like it's like, oh, I should know how to do this. And so, and I think too, we just get maybe a little bit more in our routine and we're not trying new things. So we forget, we're not putting ourselves in those positions where we're failing. And like, it's like, oh, how do I serve this ball over the net? And I don't want to look like an idiot when I do it. And yet it's so good to try new things and have that be a beginner again and mess up. So then when you're going after these things in your life that you want to do, and having that safe community, like your community, my community, these safe places where it's okay to fall on your face, and then other people will pick you up and say, "Good for you, you tried." And the same in the workplace, right? Like that people are going to support us if we're trying out new things, and like not to get too corporate, but like that's what the world demands right now. We need to be trying new things. We actually have to be, or we're not going to survive this, right? Like we need to be out there doing new things. And so the more we can do that and create psychological safety, at least for ourselves, like part of it too is we're not even creating a safe place in our own heads, right? Like we're admonishing ourselves and we're yelling at ourselves or being the mean girl in our own minds. So maybe that's even where it starts, is the safety within yourself, that it's okay if you mess up and you you don't get the pickleball over the net, or you don't even hit it, you miss, that you can say to yourself, that's okay. I'm just trying this out. It's new. It's all right. And give yourself a chance to try something new.
Absolutely. It's a muscle that you are
It
working.
is.
And
Yeah.
I will say that you did hit the ball across the net the first time, and I did not. So Brenda won, but she still made me feel good.
You did really well. I thought you did better than I did. See, listen, I'm looking at you thinking, oh, Renee's really good at sports. She's really good at this. It's so funny, right? The things we say.
Oh, I know
think.
this mind of ours is so, I mean, it's designed for that, right?
Yeah.
To just that negativity bias and to look out for all the things that you're doing wrong. And so it is an active practice of celebrating and looking for all the things that are going well. Like you really have to be committed to that.
Yes, you really do. You need to celebrate. And when we go after these things, and you're really good at talking about, looking at not just where you're going, but look at where you've come from. And so celebrating those wins along the way, it's so important. Like, pat on the back that we even showed up for that lesson and we tried it, or, starting a podcast, or starting something new, dipping your toe in the water, taking that course, like whatever it is. It's just so great to celebrate when that happens, because it's not easy to work that muscle too of trying something new. It's actually easier to stay home and say, I'm just going to not think about that dream that I really want to do. And we're here today to remind you that it's better to start thinking about that dream now than, well, actually start thinking about it now, because even next week is like, who knows what's going on next week, right? And who knows where you're going to be in X number of years. And we don't want to live with regrets. We don't want to get to the end of our life and look back and say, you know what, I really wish I'd done that thing, but I was too scared to do it. Or I got too distracted. And, we want to live our lives without regret.
Yeah. And I think this is the beautiful part of being at an age where you start to, the perspective on time changes.
Yes.
And then it does become of like, what am I waiting for? If not now, when?
Yeah.
And it's never too late. I love seeing women start new things, do new things later on. It's so inspiring. And I feel so grateful. I know personally I've surrounded myself with women such as yourself that inspire me on a daily basis, that keep doing the uncomfortable thing, because this is the part of it, is that it is uncomfortable. None of it is easy, yet there is something intangible, that reward of choosing to show up for the more, even though it is uncomfortable in so many ways.
So uncomfortable, and it's so hard to do. It really is. I just recently, like, I'm not immune to this. I don't know if you feel you are, Renee.
Nope.
But like, even recently, I was looking at, doing a big pivot in my business. And someone said to me, Brenda, what do you want to be known for? And I realized this thing I was pivoting into, or thinking about pivoting into, had nothing to do with what I want to be known for. And I actually got teary. And I think that's sometimes a sign. Yeah. And I think that's a really good question to ask yourself. Like, what do you want to be known for? And time does start to, like, it's kind of like, shit or get off the pot at this age is how I feel. Again, we're doing the explicit.
Oh, wow. Brenda Jasmin is bringing all the explicits today.
But, it's like, I do start to feel time. And I am going to say, Julia Child didn't write her first cookbook until she was 49. Yeah. And then she was on TV in her 50s. Like, that's when she started her her cooking show. And there's lots of famous
Louise Hay.
examples. Louise Hay.
She was in her 70s, I think. when
Was she? Yeah. Vera Wang was older, I think, for her profession. And I think her name is Diana Nyad, the swimmer who she swam from Cuba to Florida in the first. She swam it not being in a shark cage. And she tried many times, and it wasn't till she was 64 that she did it. And that famous painter, Grandma Moses, she didn't start painting till she was in her 70s. And like she had art in the Museum of Modern Art in her 80s. Yeah. So it's not too late. It's not too late. And Barbara Sher has written a book called It's Only Too Late If You Don't Start Now. So I'll quote her because I think that's what my hope for people is that they start now.
That's so true. I remember golfing with this woman, and she's a great golfer. She was 80. And then, but then I asked her like, oh, so like, how long have you been golfing for? Like, you must have been golfing. And she's like, yeah, I've been golfing for 20 years. But then I did the math. I'm like, well, that means she started at 60.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And it again, it's just,
and she was really good at 80.
She was a great golfer.
So it's not too late.
It's never too late. Like, that's the thing. We just get stuck on things and sometimes that's just tied to the limiting beliefs that are present, right? That are not there. So
absolutely.
I know that this conversation could keep going for a very long time. I appreciate you being here, Brenda, and just sharing this passion that you have for living in the more. For someone who wants to learn more and to connect with you, what is the best place for them to reach you?
Probably right now would be Instagram. And I'm at _Brenda Jasmin. And Jasmine has no E on the end. So check out my Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, so you can find me there as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Renee. It's always a joy and a pleasure to talk to you. And I love that we can have these conversations about purpose. I can't have them with just anyone. And so I know this is a big part of the work you do. So I'm so happy that we got to have this conversation.
And it's nice to get dressed up and do this in person. Was so much fun. I love being able to do this in person. So thank you. And for everyone listening, I want to remind you that as always, you are spiritually wired for peace, for connection, for alignment, for abundance, for love, and for more. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.